would
In
hurt.
addition to that, we also have
I'll try.
property.
Okay.
Okay, got it.
This time I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Is there a motion to go into closed meeting?
Motion.
And is there an amendment in regards to our closed meeting?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to amend the closed meeting to add 2.2-37117, consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel, MVP Pipeline.
Now, there was a motion. Do you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
All right. And is there a second?
Second.
And so be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby enters into a closed meeting for the purposes of discussing the following. Discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for public purpose or the disposition of publicly held real property where discussions in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining positions or negotiating strategies of the public body. One, the former Blacksburg High School property, and then in speaking with the county administrator, it is we're not going to be discussing the Falling Branch Corporate Park. Is that correct? The second matter would be discussion or consideration or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplinary, or resignation of specific officers, appointees, or employees of any public body. One, the Montgomery Regional Economic Development Commission. Two, the Montgomery County Tourism Development Council. And then the third item would be the adding and consulting in regards to MBB pipeline. Is there a motion? There was a motion and a second. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
5 ayes.
We're in closed session. I've got that time.
Let's do it.
Is there a motion to come out of closed meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Certification of the closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2-3711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County hereby certifies to the best of each member's knowledge that only public business matters lawfully exempted from an open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the Board. And this is our Board's commitment to you that we're only discussing matters that we're supposed to be discussing in closed meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
For the time that I was there, yes.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
The next on our agenda is invocation, and we'll observe a moment of silence. Many of you may notice that Mr. Creed is not here with us tonight. His sister passed away. The viewing was from 5 to 7 this evening, and with the funeral services beginning at 7 o'clock. While you're observing your moment of silence, I would ask that you keep his family members and Mr. Creed in your thoughts and prayers. After that, I will ask the county administrator to lead us in the pledge.
Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
The next item on our agenda is presentations, recognitions, and awards. And we have Lisa Bleakley here in regards to our holiday ornament at the Governor's Mansion. Lisa?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, supervisors, and staff. I brought Irene with me tonight as she was our lead on that ornament. We thought we'd also like to share a little good news with you from 2015. In your packet, you should have an infographic that looks something like this. And I just wanted to share 3 highlights with you from that information. The study was conducted by the Research Department of the U.S. Travel Association for the Virginia Tourism Corporation, and highlights include an increase of 2.3% in travel expenditures in Montgomery County over those of 2014, an increase of 37 additional full-time equivalent jobs with a 4.8% increase in payroll. The combined state and local taxes essentially resulted in $247 of tax relief for every household in Montgomery County because of the dollars spent here by visitors. By all indications, we are on track for comparable growth in 2016. Our office has been able to accomplish a lot this year with the support of the Tourism Board, the MTDC, VTC, and many local and regional partners. We prepared a short clip to give you an idea of what we've been working on this year. We hope that gives you a little bit of a taste of what we've been up to and looking forward to 2017. Now Irene's going to describe a little bit about the ornament and the process we went through with that.
Thank you.
So as you saw in that last little clip, that is the ornament that we sent off to the Virginia Association of Counties to represent Montgomery County and both towns. The theme for 2016 was Home for the Holidays, and so we kind of took inspiration from that to really highlight the historical homes that are in our county that have been transformed into these museums that residents and visitors could visit. So it is 3D printed. We partnered with Virginia Tech University Library's 3D design studio, and we worked with Max Oxa, and he and his two students, I believe I have their names. I do not have their names, but they were two students of Virginia Tech in the architecture school. And so they helped to create this. What you're looking at now are little mini replicas because it is 3D printed. They were able to make one that we could send out to the Virginia Association of Counties, but also one that we ourselves could keep. So we thought that was pretty exciting, and so we couldn't print it out fast enough to show you all. But the one that was shown in the video was sent out, and so it will soon be on the governor's tree. So thank you.
We're happy to take any questions. We know that was pretty quick, but we're happy to take any questions now or later. But thank you for your time, and happy Thanksgiving. You all have some mugs just to remind you to help us spread the word and go to town.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Supervisor Shepherd.
I don't have any questions. I'd just like to say thank you for all your hard work.
Supervisor DeMonts.
I don't have any questions. Also, thank you very much for all of your hard work. As a member of the Tourism Committee, I've been especially impressed with how innovative you guys have been in the Tourism Department with reaching out for new media and really embracing the current social media opportunities that you have. You're doing a really great job.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
I want to thank you for all your hard work. I wish we had little miniatures of those ornaments because I'd like to buy one. But I also want to tell you that there are a lot of supervisors from across the state are looking really forward to coming down and visiting all these different places in Montgomery County in the springtime.
We're looking forward to having them.
Yeah.
And they are giving us those files so we can print those ornaments again. And something that I didn't mention is the 3D design studio is open to the public. So it's located within the university library in Newman, but anyone can walk in and learn about 3D printing, anyone. So you yourself could tomorrow walk in and say, I'd like to learn about 3D printing and print something, and they can help you out.
Cool. Thank you.
Supervisor King.
No question, just thank you for all you do.
Supervisor Perkins.
Well, it's good to be last because you can reiterate what everybody said all down the line. And thank you, thank you, thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you again for your support.
Thank you, Lisa.
Ladies.
The next item on our agenda is the Virginia Department of Transportation, VDOT, and David Clark, our resident engineer, is here to give us a little bit of an update. Thank you, David.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good evening. Just an update on some of the work that's been going on, both maintenance-wise and a couple other special projects that we've done in the last month. Of course, we got the normal machining of roads and finish up some of the mowing here at the end of the year. Done a lot of brush removal. We've got the boom axe with the arm on it that can go in and really get a lot of those trees. We've been doing with hired crews on Route 8. You might have seen some Aspen crews. They've had to stop traffic, in fact, and flag traffic through one lane through the length of Route 8. We've been doing a lot of them on Route 8 and on Pilot Road there. But also tree removal out on Big Falls Road, on the McCoy area, and on Price's Fork Road. The paving schedules are all finished. The last little bit was Price's Fork Road there at the intersection of 114. We took advantage of some of the weather, good weather we had at the end of last week to get some patching done where we could get hot asphalt. So that worked out well for us. We're completing some safety projects on McCoy Road, getting some sight distance on McCoy Road. Did some work on some private property, just cut down a bank and some trees. And on Buckskin Road, although I understand from some of the audience that we have a little bit of work to do left on Buckskin Road. I haven't been out and looked at that, but apparently there's a little bit of a bump in there. We'll see if we can do anything with that. I had a meeting with the Homeowners Association at Blacksburg Country Club in the past month to talk about some of the private roads that are in the country club subdivision that aren't VDOT roads, but they're working with the county to get them up to standard so we can bring those in. We've been doing some ditching work, major ditching work on Merrimack Road, also on Union Valley and on Big Falls Road as well. There's a box culvert being installed on Huckleberry Lane, so it's the gravel road off of High Top Road that follows the trail a little bit off to the right as you're going down Huckleberry. That's going to be a major replacement there. We got some speed studies that are still outstanding. Haven't forgotten about those. They're working on those. Merrimack Road is one of those at Piney Woods Road where we had the new construction there. We're looking to get a speed limit established there. And let's see, there was another meeting. We had I was not able to attend. This is mostly a county-led project, but it's on Prices Fork Roads. VDOT is somewhat involved. The county held a public information meeting at Prices Fork Road for a revenue sharing project. The county is administering, but it's going to do some work near the old elementary school held at the Grange Hall, and that was well attended and had some good comments on that, I think. We've got some construction projects underway, but they're not going to, you won't see a lot of work because of the winter time. Sydney Church Road is a gravel road project about a mile long on the Fairview Church side. That's under contract. You might see a little bit of work here in the winter. The New River Bridge, don't forget, the northbound New River Bridge on 81 is going to be replaced. That's a several-year project, and it's under contract, but they are still just getting started. And Route 8, we're adding turn lanes at Fairview Church Road, right in Reiner. Left turn lanes at Union Valley and Fairview Church, and that's under contract as well. But you won't see any work for just a little bit. Of course, you'll still see work at Southgate. That's going on. Hopefully, with the incentives that the contractor has, they can have traffic on the new part of that by next year at this time. They've got longer. They can finish as early as July and get the maximum incentive, but they can still finish by November and get a little bit of incentive. So I went through that pretty quick. It's not a lot of stuff that you can see, but we are working on things. And then, of course, we're getting ready for, even though we had, it was close to 80 last week, end of last week, 70, 80 degrees, and but we're still thinking about snow. So we started getting our equipment and everything ready for that. So I'll take any questions the board might have.
I'll start with Supervisor Perkins.
I have a question about the end of Nellie's Cave Road and with Mrs. Howe.
Yes, I've spoken with her. Yes, we're gonna try to do something there, but I know there was an accident there at one point. Yeah, we're gonna look at what. Yeah, I know we got a lot of signs up there now that may need to be refreshed. Rumble strips is something we've used. I'd like to, I'd run that by the county before we put anything like that up. That's definitely something we're looking at.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, because I think she's still concerned with how the traffic comes through there, and of course she lost trees and
I appreciate the reminder too, because it gets hectic this time of year.
It sure does. Sounds like you don't have anything to do though, but I thought I'd give you that and then keep going. Thank you so much, Dave. Appreciate
Supervisor King.
We talked earlier, so I won't bring nothing else up, but I do want to tell you, in your crew, Route 8 looks really good. Where they trimmed the trees, it lightened it up.
It brightens back up, and that'll be a real help with winter time.
Yeah, and the new bridge on Pig Path, that looks good.
That's nice too. Yes,
I like the way they widened it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you,
Supervisor Biggs.
So the Country Club Estates, they're going to pay to upgrade their roads so that you all will take them into the system, and then you'll do the snow removal.
Yes, a lot of it, most of it's not a lot of construction stuff. A lot of it has to do with just the way the things are platted, what property lines are. The roads weren't necessarily built in what right-of-way was established, so we're trying to work that out.
Okay, thank you.
And we are still progressing on the Mount Tabor through truck restriction. We're working up language here. We should have pretty soon to the county for a resolution, and that's still ongoing, but we haven't forgotten about that one either.
Thank you.
Supervisor DeMonts.
You answered my question before I asked it. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
Supervisor Shepherd.
Just one. I wondered if you had a chance to look at that shoulder ditch area on Prices Fork Road.
I did find that, and that's gonna be a little bit of work to get that thing correct. It's right at the seam where a cut section and a fill section. We put a cone there, but just to warn people, because if you get off that, it could be tough. I finally found what you were talking about, and the shoulder stone from the pavement doesn't help that any. We've got a couple of places where you get that kind of thing. I don't know if you've noticed going into Radford on Route 11, there's a section that started to slide off there. We had to put some barrels up there. Those will require reconstruction from the bottom up to get those, but that's definitely on our long-term list to get to.
Okay, thank you.
I have an odd kind of question. I was looking at some GIS maps and the like, and the 460 bypass that runs through the National Forest, approximately how wide is that easement? Do you know? Or could you get that information for us?
I can get that. It probably varies somewhat. But we have the plans for when it was 4-lane. The section that goes
just from Giles County to the top of Brush Mountain.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So that's actually, yeah, I can find that.
Thank you very much. That's the only thing. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is public address. This is where the Board of Supervisors listens to you. It's not necessarily our turn to respond. There's many times during the course of this night you have to listen to us, but this is the one point in time in the meeting where we have to listen to you. Each individual will have 5 minutes. We'll ask you to state your name and address. We're going to start off with the folks that signed up, but if you have not signed up, that does not mean that you're not allowed to speak. And our first speaker appears to be Matthew Pickett. I would ask if you did sign up, if you would start coming forward and you'd just start having some seats in the front row. Is it Matthew Pickett?
Yes,
it is. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Matthew Pickett, 2620 Mount Tabor Road, Blacksburg, Virginia. I've been a lifelong resident of the Montgomery County in the state, and I come before you this afternoon because I got a phone call a couple of days ago addressing today's session and potentially some serious ramifications that could potentially unfold. There are 2 resolutions being voted on today, is my understanding. I implore all of you to vote yes on this, especially on the MVP Forest Plan Amendments resolution. To my understanding, the resolution has already been voted on yes by Giles County and the town of Blacksburg, and we need Montgomery County support if we're going to keep this area beautiful and really, why it is what it is. And the NRV, I think, is a very important resource to this part of the state and even to the state itself. We're all dependent upon each other, and the overwhelming majority of landowners are all in agreement that with Giles and the town of Blacksburg, it'd be a disservice for our residents not to vote yes. I'd be very, very heartbroken if I saw a 500-foot swath of land that was clear-cut. I mean, I don't know what that would look like, but Lane Stadium is a football field and a half, and that's about how wide it would be. And if it's 2.5 miles long, you're gonna see that. I mean, that's pretty permanent. And I'd be willing to bet that you could put more than one pipeline through there. I mean, that's a precedent. And I spoke to you probably about a year ago, my time in West Union, West Virginia. If it had not been for the road signs that said West Virginia on it, I would have assumed I was driving on a third world country's road. These are not the well roads, mind you. These are not the really well-maintained private roads. These are the state-funded roads. They don't have the money to repair these things. There's potholes, there's damage, there's everything. I stopped on a bridge that said 1929, and that was the only bridge over this damn thing. I mean, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy to see that how much they were against the wall in terms of these 10-ton trucks just tearing up these roads, and they couldn't do anything about it. And I also was in a helicopter to get aerial shots of this PSA, and I flew over it. And West Virginia is a beautiful, beautiful state. But if I didn't know any better, I would have assumed that the wells were probably the problem as opposed to the coal and mountaintop removal, because, driving up these roads and looking at them from the top, you have these reservoirs of clean water they're going to use for fracking. They piped in from the unincorporated communities to which they use for fracking, and they dump on the roads. I mean, that makes no sense. And I'm not saying this is all part of this whole resolution, but I really do implore you to vote yes on this so that we don't set a precedent, so that these things don't necessarily happen. it's worrisome because I would like to always be part of this part of Virginia. And, you know, I think this is a step in the wrong direction if we even allow one thing to go through. And, well, that's all.
Thank you. Next is Linda Majors. There's several others signed up. If you would please start coming forward. Ms. Majors, would you please state your name and address? And you have 5 minutes.
Linda Majors, 2620 Mount Tabor Road, Blacksburg, Virginia. I want you to vote yes on both resolutions for the MVP tonight. The first resolution has to do with the avoidance of Slusher's Chapel Conservation Area. I fear that even with additional dye tracing water from Mill Creek, just beyond the hairpin curve, all the way to sinkholes beyond the hairpin curve, plus from Preston Forest Drive over, all coming into Slusher's Chapel Cave, and this Mount Tabor variation being the preferred route, that we're irreversibly damaging the water supply, which goes all the way to the North Fork of the Roanoke River and therefore affects Spring Hollow Reservoir in Roanoke County. So this is a multi-county effect. I fear that your resolution won't do a darn bit of good because they don't want to put it on the forest because it's too much trouble. They can run through private landowners with no problem at all. In fact, there was a routing guy that talked to my neighbors a week ago and he said, no, they're not going to go up on the forest. You know, they already have enough trouble with them. You're going to put it down here. Yeah, you're going to lose your water. Of course you will. Maybe you'll get some back, maybe you won't. That's what we're facing here. This is a clear and present danger. Vote yes on this resolution to get it out of there, to go up on the forest, but I don't have much hope for it, which brings me to the second resolution. The resolution stating your opposition to the forest plan amendments to allow some travesty like this pipeline to go through our forest and our community and damage Blacksburg, Montgomery County, and everything else. Giles has passed this resolution and filed it with FERC. Town of Blacksburg has filed this has passed this resolution and will be filing with FERC. Montgomery County represents every citizen in Montgomery County. This is a clear and present danger. This will happen. It will happen. And not only this pipeline, but multiple pipelines. You can bet the forest is not going to allow another pipeline to go through on the ACP. The ACP will be coming here. Next, the Appalachian Connector. We got 3. We have a blanket permit for this pipeline. That means they can go up to 15 miles out with feeder pipelines, plus compressor stations. Blacksburg will be in a constant state of construction and destruction. This will not be a place to live. Vote yes on both resolutions today. Thank you.
The next signed up is Sandra Slawdecker. I did better this time. Thank you. Please state your name and address, and you've got 5 minutes.
Sandra Schlaudecker, 42544 Drive, Blacksburg, Virginia. I also would like you to pass both resolutions. Linda states it very succinctly, but my concern also, if this pipeline comes through with the 48-inch huge pipes, they are only able to put 3 pipes on 1 truck. So for a 300-mile, I know not all 300 is in our county, but it will be an unbelievable amount of traffic that I don't think people really understand. If you've read the Department of Environmental Impact Statement, draft impact statement, it states that there really will not be any bad environmental damage done except to the forest. According to some calculations, 7,000 acres of trees are going to be cut down. Buried in the DEIS is the 500-foot easement. We certainly do not want that. Please vote for both of the resolutions and file them with FERC immediately. Thank you.
Next is Bruce, and I'm going to say Zeklon.
Very good.
All right.
Reasonably close, anyway.
All right, well, please correct me.
Bruce Zoplin.
Zoplin.
I'm at 2424 Mount Tabor Road, Blacksburg. And I'm here to support the previous speakers and suggest or request that you vote yes on the amendments. You know, the gas industry sponsored studies have been used to suggest that there was going to be a benefit to this Mountain Valley pipeline in the form of jobs, construction jobs, payments to local governments, etc. But independent studies show that the Mountain Valley folks have used inappropriate methods and unrealistic assumptions in their overinflated estimations of the potential benefit. Worse than that, however, is that their studies make no mention or reference to the potential harm to us, either economically or otherwise. An independent study was conducted by a group of PhD economists from a group called Key Log Economics, which estimates that for every dollar that the Mountain Valley Pipeline people spend, we will lose 3. And I wanted to make sure that you, our representatives, have a full understanding of the full ramifications of this pipeline. And so I have a sheet here from this economic group. It's a one-pager, and I have the reference to their website, which provides how they came up with all this. But again, the bottom line is that for every $1 spent by Mountain Valley, our county will lose 3. And the details are in their study. The outline there is in front of you to look at. With regard to the amendments, yes, vote yes, because we cannot have a 50-foot right-of-way for other utility correlators or projects co-located in our environment. We can't have a cutting of a swath through old growth forests. We can't have heavy equipment operating on roads parallel to this pipeline, causing furrows, ruts, and sedimentation to our slopes. We simply cannot have a Mountain Valley Pipeline cross the Appalachian Scenic Trail, incomprehensible that that could possibly happen, on Peters Mountain, and the overall degradation of this project, which is solely for the benefit of the shareholders of EQT and the other investors, and to our economic and environmental detriment. So I hope you consider wisely your vote tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next is Ross Dickerman.
Hello. My name is Ross Dickerman. I live at 3214 Deer Run Road, Blacksburg, Virginia. Me and my family have lived here for the past 16 years, and we live very close to one of the proposed routes of the pipeline, and we are deeply concerned about its impact on our house and property values, health, and and transport. If there's a great deal of industrial equipment moving back and forth on those little country roads, I implore you, our representatives, to vote yes on both resolutions so that this does not happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Evan Alden? Evan Alden?
My name is Evan Alden. My address is 2540 Mount Tabor Road. I've lived in Montgomery County for around 17 years, since about 1997. And I'd like to urge you guys to vote yes on both resolutions. Thank you.
Thank you. John Lavender, is it Stott? Please come forward. You've got 5 minutes.
My name is John Lavender Stott. I live at Houston Primrose Drive, Blacksburg, Virginia. I was born and raised in the New River Valley. and I'm coming to speak to you today about the MVP resolutions. I've personally been to communities that have passed similar proposals to go through forests and the like, and have personally seen the aesthetic and ecological damage that causes, where the expectations that the company presented did not come to fruition, and it turned out very poorly for those communities, and the lack of economic benefits that came to those communities. And I came to you here today to support passing both resolutions A and B, and state my concern about the potential damage to the bucolic nature of the area in which I grew up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Phil Pickett.
Thank you. My name is Phil Pickett. I live at 2620 Mount Tabor Road, Blacksburg. And I'd like to also support or add to everyone else who has spoken in support of the resolutions. Our family has lived for 28 years immediately adjacent to the Slusher's Chapel Cave. The valley that goes through our property and through other properties is basically a collapsed cave system in the Mount Tabor sinkhole plain. This stream runs superficially and on surface, and then it becomes subterranean. Anything that goes through that little valley would eventually go into the Slusher's Chapel system, which then runs into Mill Creek, which then runs into the North Fork of the Roanoke River, which could eventually affect water supplies all the way down in Ellet Valley, all the way down to Roanoke, Virginia. So the Mountain Valley Pipeline, Mount Tabor alternative, currently passes over 2 stream beds that directly go into the Slusher's Chapel cave system, either directly surface-wise or more commonly through dye tracing studies in a subterranean manner. Okay. So I would encourage you to vote for the first resolution that would state that the Mountain Valley Pipeline should be further up on the mountain, so there is a filtering effect, which geologists tell us would have a very, very great impact on saving this cave system. Not only for the little critters that are in there that are globally endangered, or globally rare, not endangered, but also for the individuals whose water system comes from that cave system. More importantly, I would like for you to support the resolution against the amendments, Mountain Valley Pipeline and FERC, to have the 500-foot wide swath going across the Jefferson National Forest, approximately 2.5 miles long, 500-foot wide. There is currently in Congress laws being worked on to establish these utility corridors. If we have this swath through our national forest here and through Montgomery County, then every pipeline that needs to be built, every water system, transportation system, every power line will go right through that swath, carte blanche, and there will be continuous disruption of that end of the county in general, with construction efforts and other things associated with these productions, not to mention the ecological damage they will do to the area. So I'd like to ask the Board of Supervisors to please support both resolutions this evening. Thank you.
George Simmons. Please come forward and state your name and address, and you've got 5 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to speak before you this evening. My name is George Simmons, and I live at 2785 Green Meadow Drive at the top of Harding Avenue. I'm in Supervisor DeMott's district, and appreciate the opportunity to be here. As you know, the opponents to the pipeline are facing an uphill battle here, because the very federal organization that is supposed to be regulating the pipeline is staffed by people from the Energy Corporation and is also paid by those folks. And so I don't know where y'all come from, but to me this looks like the proverbial situation where you have foxes guarding the chicken house to keep the coyotes from eating them. But you don't know, which is what, oftentimes. So, as citizens of this county, we don't have much going for us, except the folks that we have elected, the Board of Supervisors here, to consider our interests and what a project like this is going to do to our environment. And you've heard from the other people about the effects of cutting down the mature forest, destroying a big swath of the national forest, the Appalachian Trail, the destruction of an underground aquifer system, the effects that that's going to have on people who need access to that water without contamination. And so you're our first and our last line of defense. And I was also impressed with the information tonight about tourism. I thought that was very, very good. Except the question that I would ask is, are folks going to come to Montgomery County to go over to that end of the county and look at the effects of the pipeline on the national forest and the destruction on people's lives over there? Maybe we could put in an overlook out there somewhere where folks could come in and visit and look at the destruction of the national forest. I don't think that's something we want to see. But I have a solution. I have an alternative plan for you. Are you ready? I suggest that you bring this pipeline down the 460 corridor. I mean, you already have a pathway through the county. It's been approved. There's a right-of-way to either side of it. You potentially could lay the pipeline down the side of the highway, or if nothing else, you could just dig up one lane and put the pipeline under that. Now that has a lot of economic benefit. You gotta stop and think about that. This pipe is going to have to be encased in some sort of concrete structure. So where are these concrete coffers going to be built? Right here in Montgomery County. That pipe is going to have to be supported with some sort of foam system so it doesn't rattle around in there. Think about the foam production companies here in Montgomery County that have the potential to make a profit on that. You're going to have shifts of people running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to try to keep up with this construction. Think about all the gravel that's going to have to be hauled out there. And last but not least, think of the asphalt companies that have to go back in there and pave over this system. The Virginia Department of Transportation will never have to pave another inch of highway through Montgomery County because it will have to be kept up by the pipeline. Think about the money that can be used for other kinds of projects here in the county. This is an economic benefit for everybody. I don't know where you save the tax money coming in, but you're going to have to put up a new facility. Now you may think this idea is incredulous and silly. In fact, maybe stupid. But I would submit to you that it's no worse than the current plan. And at least if you put it in the 460 corridor, everybody has to share in the pain in order to share in the economic gain. So if nothing else, if you don't like either of those ideas, I would recommend that you consider Supervisor Biggs' suggestion some time ago. And that's just simply to say no. Just say no to the pipeline. This is something that we do not need in our county, and it's in opposition and contravenes everything else that we're trying to do in Montgomery County. This goes and takes us in the opposite direction. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Mark Howman.
Good evening. I'm Mark Heilman. My address is 5555 Mount Tabor Road, Catawba, Virginia. Yeah, it's Catawba, but I live in Montgomery County. I happen to be at the other end of the county. And you may wonder why I'm here talking about the pipeline, because you would recognize that it's nowhere near where my property is. But it's going to impact me just as much as if it came across my property. I'll tell you a story of a few years ago, a home site about a half mile from our house did some blasting, some rock. And we have a pond on our property that's spring fed. And one of those springs turned muddy for many days. I can't remember, maybe it was a week. And the flow has been reduced permanently just because of that blasting. And the issue of what could happen to our water supply is very serious with this pipeline. Phil Tickett is right. Did I just cut off? Oh, the area that they're coming through is horrible for a pipeline. And they're not putting it through there because it's the best route from an environmental standpoint. They're putting it through there because it's the least amount of Forest Service land to cross. If you look at a map where they're coming through, they've got a little section up in along the border of West Virginia and Virginia, along Peters Mountain, where it crosses at AT. They've got a section down where it comes into Montgomery County, across Brush Mountain, and the amount of miles on Forest Service land is reduced. If they move that pipeline either east or west, they're going to have to cross more Forest Service land than they're crossing now. That is the only reason they're coming the way that they're coming now. And I have heard that there is maybe some concerns with this board in regards to if we oppose this amendment, if we do that, that the Forest Service then may change the route, and it's more likely they're going to use public land, use our land. They want to use public land. It's much easier for them to come across public land than Forest Service land. There is no way they can come through any area of Montgomery County without going through Forest Service land. Look at the map. I don't care if you're looking over McCoy, you're looking, maybe there's a corridor we're talking about 460 through there, but otherwise it's all Forest Service land. And the reason that I'm concerned, and I want you to pass these amendments, is this 500-foot corridor. If the Forest Service puts this plan through, it will make it so much easier for any utility company or project to come through here. If they have a 500-foot corridor already approved through the Forest Service, which is the hardest part of putting any structure or infrastructure through, is public land. If they've already got that approved for 500 feet, you can bet they're going to route more pipeline, maybe even above ground utilities, through this corridor because it will already be approved. They will not have to go through the process that is required on public land. So I strongly request that you pass this amendment, that you pass this resolution to oppose this amendment. I don't see any reason not to do that. And the outcome of not doing it could be many utilities coming through in this area, and you're going to have a 500-foot swath of a scar across Montgomery County, as well as the Forest Service. That's the reason for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Is it? Is it Tina? Is it?
I say Smoosh.
It was hard to read your handwriting there.
Yes. I'm Tina Smoosh. I live at 5555 Mount Tabor Road in Montgomery County with my husband, Mark Heilman. That's why we have the same address as the last speaker. I'm here to take a more intensive look at the First Amendment that we would like you to oppose with your resolution, and that concerns the 500-foot right-of-way that would allow multiple utilities to come through this huge corridor. So I want to educate you a little bit about House Bill 2295, which was named the National Energy Security Corridor, and it passed the House and the Senate. It has gone into committee at this point and been renamed the National Energy Policy Modernization Act, perhaps to just tone it down a little bit. I think they were using scare tactics with the first name. This establishes 10 national, they call it National Energy Security Corridors, which are huge energy corridors, and they want 10 of them. They're actually planned for the eastern United States, although it doesn't say that explicitly, but that's been their intention. And these would be established primarily on federal lands, Forest Service, national parks. And it is for not only pipelines, but the wording includes transmission facilities, which includes compressor stations and industrial sites. It was ironic that we started this public session tonight with that lovely film on all the beautiful, wonderful advantages of Blacksburg and Montgomery County. What we never want to say is that we also boast the first and largest multiple utility corridor coming through this county. The Mountain Valley Pipeline actually can't come through this county without going through national forest land or the Forest Service land. They can't back up 2 years and go through this whole process again if it's not allowed through this section of the Forest Service. So the fear that they would somehow turn around and reroute it is financially just totally impossible for Mountain Valley to handle. It would set them back another 2 years at least. This national plan is now S2012, the National Energy Policy Modernization Act. And the permitting for these corridors that are proposed goes through the Secretary of the Department of the Interior, who is appointed by our new president. This person would, of course, need Senate advisement and consent, but essentially, I believe these huge corridors could be rubber stamped, and we have to protect our county from being the first one. Thank you.
Thank you. Robert Fentress.
Hello, my name is Robert Fentress. I live at 4005 Mount Zion Road. I'm here to voice my support for your supporting these resolutions regarding the Mountain Valley Pipeline. I've lived here in this area for the last 25 years, but my wife's family goes back generations, and I travel periodically away from here for my work, and every time I come back, the feeling of home that I get from this place just is very special to me. And so I've never been to one of these meetings before. I've never spoken to one before, but I felt it was important enough that I come and just share my support for you in supporting these resolutions. So thank you.
Thank you. Those are all the individuals who signed up tonight. Just because you did not sign up doesn't mean that you don't have the right to speak. I would ask that if anyone would like to speak, if they would please come to the front row, and then I'll just start calling on you one at a time, whoever. I think you were first, so if you please come forward, state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Okay, first of all, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Tim Ligon. I live at 4290 Preston Forest Drive, in the Preston Forest community. I'm not sure, I'm here specifically to ask you to support both resolutions as well. It's also hard to know what to add to some of the impassioned pleas by all the previous speakers. I grew up in Blacksburg, Virginia. I moved away after I graduated from Virginia Tech, went away for 31 years, and thank goodness I got to come back to Blacksburg 2 years ago in June. And guess what news broke that October? That there was the possibility of the Mountain Valley Pipeline, if you remember, was originally going to go through the Preston Forest community. And of course, I never would, in a million years, would have thought that I would be in the middle of a pipeline fight coming back to this beloved community. And but I have, and I've been highly involved in it. The part that really concerns me more than anything else is this amendment for the corridor. It should absolutely shock, it should stagger you, it should really worry you. That there's been enough said about it. We should all, everybody in this entire room should be extraordinarily concerned about this possibility. If it happens, it will be an absolute disaster that everyone in this room and others will have to deal with. There is a reason, well, actually one thing I want to say, I wish that we would have thought ahead of time. There's been a lot of work going on behind the scenes fighting this. There was an incredible picture. Some of you may have seen it. There's an incredible picture of a 26-lane highway in Houston, Texas. And it depicted, it was like a comparison. It was almost an exact comparison of what it would look like if that comes through Montgomery County. It was unbelievable to see it. And that is the picture I wish we would have thought about bringing it here. It would have, just that one picture alone would have said the whole story. There's a reason, we've heard this before, there's a reason why Giles County voted and filed with FERC on this. There was a reason why the town of Blacksburg did. Here's one that wasn't mentioned. There was $6,000 paid for an ad. I hope all of you all saw in the Roanoke Times. It's a half-page ad that said the truth is out. Did anybody see it? Okay, there's a reason why $6,000, I was one of them, and there's probably many people in this room that contributed to that, mostly landowners, paid their own personal money to have that ad run, and there was some other media that went along with it. There's a reason why we did that, because we feel that passionate about what's going on. And I think the last thing I'll say, and a couple gentlemen before mentioned this, I also have been made aware that there's concerns by the board about approving this and the possibility if you do, well, I guess the concerns about the one resolution with the amendments, and that, they push it off to another part of the county. We can deal with hypotheticals all night long. We can. What ifs, and there's going to be a lot of what ifs that already have happened and are going to happen going forward. But if there is one thing we know for sure right now, this is locked and loaded right now. It's in front of us. And we absolutely have to deal with it right now. We don't need to be worried about what may or may not happen if it does get passed. So thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Ma'am, I believe you, and I know there were several people walking forward. Please state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Louisa Gay, and I live at 3925 Horse Farm Road, which is off of Bishop Road. I urge the Board of Supervisors to adopt both resolutions to protect not only the Forest Service land, but the county of Montgomery. Montgomery County, long known for its scenic beauty and outdoor opportunities, will be permanently spoiled by the pipeline. Additionally, the threat to water resources for the northwest section of Montgomery County is a distinct possibility. As leaders of our county government, you must ask yourself, could you sleep at night from this day to your very last, knowing that you did not do everything in your power to stop this pipeline? I humbly beseech you, take this opportunity and send MVP a message, stay out of Montgomery County. And now I would like to ask everybody in the audience that is in opposition to the MVP pipeline and is for the resolutions to stand. Thank you.
That's fine. Come on forward. Please state your name, and you've got 5 minutes.
Just thought I'd butt on in here. My name is Diana Richardson. I live at 1431 Breckenridge Drive. And I would like to say that I support what all of the other people who have been up here said. Water is our most important resource. It's even more important than oil and gas. And we have to do everything in our power to protect the water in Montgomery County. It does protect the county when we protect the water in the county. We can't live without it. And I want you to know that the organization, Preserve Montgomery County, does care about every section in Montgomery County, any place that this pipeline might go, and we will fight against it anywhere this pipeline might go. It's certainly, as I've said before when I've been up here, it's not an NIMBY issue. And I just want to beseech you to pay attention to what's happening right now in the Slusher's Chapel area. Right now, that area of our county needs protecting. And it's going to be devastating if somehow during construction or when the pipeline is in the ground, it ruins the water supply there. And it's not just us. I mean, it's not just you all. It's not just me living here. After we pass on and you're no longer leaders, it's going to affect future generations. And we want to keep people here. We want this to be a really great county for people to live in as it is now. We want to make sure that that's what's happening in the future. You know, I watch the tourism people like others have said here, and I was just thinking, you know, if this happens, we're not going to have tourists, or at least we're not going to have them for the right reasons. And you know how much we depend on ecological tourism in this county for our economic development, and we want to do even more of this. It's so important. We have great resources here. So I just want to agree with everyone else who has spoken and say that we have to do everything in our power so that Montgomery County does not become the biggest sacrifice zone in the Commonwealth of Virginia, because I'm afraid that's what's going to happen if Mountain Valley Pipeline has its way. You already know that we can't trust the company. We can't trust what they've done in the past and what they will do. So I want you to really consider very seriously supporting these amendments. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, yes.
I need resolution.
Yes. Sir, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Lawrence Gray Halliburton III. I live at 502 Gross Drive in Supervisor DeMott's community in Blacksburg. I cannot express to you better than the other folks here why this is bad for this community, why this is bad for this county. So what I am going to talk about is a more national and more global issue. Up in North Dakota, they're also facing a pipeline right now. And they're facing gun thugs and mercenaries and brutality to these people who did not approve, who did not agree to this pipeline. Yes, it's in a different place and it's a different company, but to believe that this company in this place will treat the citizens of this county any differently is utterly ridiculous. Those people think of nothing but their short-term profits. These pipelines, especially for natural gas, which is a very short-term resource, natural gas wells do not last very long, and once they're empty, once they have peaked and gone out, the infrastructure built around them is useless. So I urge you to vote yes on both propositions today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, like I said, several of you came forward. Please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Thomas Adams, 1724 Sage Lane in Blacksburg. I'm a 1975 graduate of Virginia Tech. I got my master's in civil engineering in 1986, specializing in hydrology, water resources, and hydraulics. As an undergraduate, I minored in geology. I worked 25 years, retiring in 2013 from the National Weather Service, involved in flood forecasting in the Ohio River Valley, which includes the New River Valley. I've worked for the Susquehanna River Basin Commission with the Department of Natural Resources in North Carolina. And I've done international consulting in the last 3 years in Panama, China. I've been in Australia, Pakistan, Vietnam. And in most of these other countries, you can see, especially like in China, you can see the consequences of unbridled development, where the government does not pay attention to the needs of the people. There's a reason we have as our state motto, Sic Semper Tyrannis, and that is because we stand up to tyranny. And what we're seeing with FERC and the people that are engaged in FERC and the companies involved in this is tyranny against the people in the Commonwealth of Virginia, because they're treating us, as people have alluded to, as a colony. It's the way colonial powers treat the people. They don't pay attention to their needs. They just run roughshod over them. They don't care about the natural beauty of Montgomery County. They just want to, as people have said, make a profit to their shareholders, and they don't care about the needs of anybody affected along the pipeline. And more than that, I've been involved in climate change research. It's real. It's going to be devastating. And by stopping the pipeline, we are doing a small part in stopping this movement towards what, unfortunately, will probably be a global disaster. There's time to do something, and this is a small step in facing up to that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I think you came forward. Yeah, please state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes.
Hello, my name is Stephen Gillespie. I reside at 201 Fairfax Road in Blacksburg, Virginia. I'm here representing the New River Valley Greens. I just want to reiterate, along with everyone else here who's spoken tonight, that we are in opposition to this pipeline, and we encourage you all to vote yes on both resolutions. Everything, all the research that I've done backs up everything that everybody here has said, that the pipeline would be not just an environmental disaster, but an economic disaster for our community, and one that's permanent. If something goes wrong with that pipeline and it destroys the way the water works in our karst topography underneath all those deposits, we won't have fresh water. It'll be like, you know, some Central or South American country where we have to truck in our water everywhere. So it's not just you know, worrying about things that live in caves. It's us. And I just want to make sure that it's not just an environmental issue, although that should be enough to warrant voting against the pipeline and for these resolutions, but it's also economic. So I urge you all to consider very, very carefully that this is a potential permanent action that you're going to be taking, and urge you to vote for both resolutions in opposition to the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I don't know if anyone else, I don't want to cut anybody off. I did not see. Yes, ma'am. Please come forward and please state your name and your address, and you have 5 minutes.
My name is Hersha Evans. I'm living in Christiansburg at 55 Greek Street.
And I just want to reiterate that I agree with everything that has been said this evening, and I strongly urge all of you to vote for this proposal, for both of the proposals. And I think it's also important to try to do it timely, not put this off until it's too late. And thank you.
Thank you. Is that everyone? Obviously, there's been a lot of folks talking about the pipeline, but you're allowed to address any. Is there anyone else who would like to come forward?
My name is Robert Jones. I live at 2628 Mount Tabor Road. This pipeline has been keeping me up at night. I wake up at night and I write stuff down, what I can improve with a report to FERC. I hope it goes further than that because I don't think those people can read, or they don't read. There have been plenty of suggestions, proofs, etc., that the pipeline is going across the wrong place. One of the things that I came up with, well, y'all familiar with an argument called NIMBY? Not in my backyard? That's a matter of preference. I've got another acronym that more fits our situation. It's an ecology-based objection to the pipeline. It's DYMWOW. Pronounced what? DIMWOW. Don't you mess with our water. Period. Amen. Thank you. Please support the resolutions.
Is there anyone else who is not signed up? I don't see anyone else coming forward, so I'm going to go ahead and close public address. The next item on our agenda is addendums. I do not believe we have an addendum.
No, sir, we did not.
Is there a motion to go into work session?
Motion.
Second. Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins? Aye. Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs? Aye. Mr. Motts? Aye. Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
The first on our work session is Friends of the Meadow.
I'm Jeff Wynn, and this is
Todd Riley. Hello.
And we've been working with our little working group, spending a lot of time on that former AEP property, and I know we've spoken to you all about that as well. We have our little working group here with us this evening, and we have a proposal that I think has been shared with you. I don't know if we need to delve into the specifics or if you have any questions regarding our proposal, but it does have the unanimous support of our working group, and we hope you will consider it.
All right, I'm going to see if some of my fellow board members, we have received this in our packets in the proposal, and I know y'all have been before us, and so I'm going to start with Supervisor Shepherd to see if he has any questions for you.
I don't. It's pretty well explained in here.
Supervisor DeMoss?
And just to reiterate, this is something that has come from the Friends of the Meadow Group and has received support of the Friends of the Meadow Group.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs?
No.
Supervisor King?
No.
Supervisor Perkins?
No, because I've met with several of you, and I think I'm fairly well advised as to what your positions are, and you know very well that I'm okay with this one because I've said to you so many times, I don't want this to go away. I want this area to remain the kind of place that you all have said over and over again, that the people in your community want. And I certainly can favor what you want because it does keep the bulk of that land, or the majority of much of that land, as a park where you can take your children, where you can walk, where you can sit and be peacefully at ease. And so I can support this part of what you're talking about. I do want to say that I am very impressed with the way you all have worked. I know this is a little bit of more of a compromise than what we talked about before, but it's okay. And I'm thinking that how can we say no, because it's what you all have come forward with, and it really fits what I think should be there. So good luck.
Thank you. I'm very impressed, and I'm going to support this as well. I want to thank your group for the hard work, and I think this is a compromise where we're preserving 9 acres of land. We're still selling 3 acres of land that we can use towards Parks and Rec, that with a $100,000 sales price. And so I guess I'm looking for consensus from our board that we would write a letter to the town of Blacksburg asking if they would receive the 9 acres with the restrictions that are put forward in their proposal, and see if they're willing to accept it. And then also a boundary line adjustment, so this property would go into the town of Blacksburg. And so I guess I'm, at this point in time, looking for thumbs up. Okay. All right. We've got positives on that. And so what we'll do is hopefully we'll ask staff to draft a letter to the mayor of Blacksburg. I'm willing to follow up and go to a town council meeting specifically and ask. And then, Marty, do you think that if the town's receptive, we could have a resolution in early January? After a public hearing? Obviously, we've got to have a public hearing on this.
You talking about a resolution setting the public hearing?
Setting the public hearing and setting it up for maybe sometime in January, and then reaching out to the town to see if they're willing to accept the 9 acres.
Yeah, if we could do a resolution, I mean, have something ready in December, we could have a public hearing in January.
All right. Is there any other discussion on this issue that any board member? Thank y'all.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Next on our agenda, All Points Broadband. Mr. Carr.
Where is full page? Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jimmy Carr. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of All Points Broadband. And as soon as I figure out how to go to full page, I will get started.
I think...
You got me. I don't know.
I know that it's utilized PDF instead of a PowerPoint.
Oh, here comes Josh.
Josh is coming.
You know, I think you all can read that anyway, so.
That's pretty big. You got help, the technical help behind you, Mr. Carr.
Oh, good. Full screen mode. Oh.
It's hard to see those things when you're standing there.
Throw no stones. I live in a glass house.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight about what we hope is a win-win opportunity for our company and your community and the underserved citizens of Montgomery County. Just a brief introduction to our company. All Points Broadband is the largest and fastest growing fixed wireless internet service provider in the Mid-Atlantic. Our reason for existing as a company is to help connect and provide high quality broadband service to underserved communities. We do that in partnership with towns, cities, counties, EDAs, IDAs, public service authorities, whoever's willing and interested in working with us. As a company, we're proud of the leadership role that we play in our industry nationally. So, for example, I'm on the board of directors of our national association, oversee our legislative efforts and our regulatory efforts in DC. I represent the fixed wireless industry on Virginia's Broadband Advisory Council that provides input to the governor and the General Assembly on strategies for expanding broadband coverage throughout the Commonwealth. We're also active on other county communications commissions, and I've been on the industry working group that has been advising the state government on the structure of the grant program we're here to talk with you about tonight. We are also recognized by the Commonwealth of Virginia's state IT department, VITA. We are the only fixed wireless internet service provider who has a contract to provide fixed wireless internet service on a statewide basis. As many of you know, we recently acquired a successful entrepreneurial company in this region, New River Valley Unwired, a great company built by Edwin Whitelaw and some great team employees down here. We bought that company as a way of expanding into this region as kind of a beachhead for additional investment by our company, and we're here tonight to just bring your attention to a quick-moving grant opportunity that we're hoping we can partner with Montgomery County on. I mentioned, so we acquired, in early September, the operations of New River Valley Unwired. We hired every single employee, and we plan to continue to invest in and expand that business. Though we are larger than New River Valley Unwired, we are still a local, small entrepreneurial Virginia company. We think that we have about the right mix of, we're large enough to have a lot of expertise and bring some assets to the table, but we're also not so large that we can't move quickly and take advantage of opportunities like the one we're bringing to you tonight. And really, we like to think we combine kind of the best of the entrepreneurial spirit and the adaptability of a company like NRVU with some additional resources and skills. We combine the local knowledge and relationship that Edwin and his team have built over the years. We have very robust networking and RF design capability. We have access to capital and really state-of-the-art technology in our industry. We plan to expand throughout the New River Valley region. A couple legs on the stool of how we do that. The first is by growing and investing in the NRVU network that we've recently acquired. We're also interested in acquiring additional smaller internet service providers throughout Virginia and combining them, making them more efficient. And we're also pursue everywhere where there's a true win-win situation, public-private partnerships. I'm here tonight in particular to talk to you about a program called the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative. This is a brand new program created at the state level. It was in the budget last year. It's administered by the Department of Housing and Community Development. The program exists to fund broadband infrastructure build-outs by private sector providers in areas where a business case is not going to be met by market demand alone. And so it's, it targets kind of shovel-ready projects where a company like ours has some plans about how we can expand and rapidly improve broadband access and competition, but that on our own, with our constraints and cost of capital, we wouldn't be able to pursue if there weren't some delta, some funding to be provided by the public sector. The process requires that we, as a private sector applicant, partner with a local government to serve as essentially a funding conduit. The program will fund up to 80% of project costs. We expect that this will be a pretty competitive program, and so that in order to be successful, the private/local match would have to be in excess of the 20% minimum. I'm sorry that this is a very short notice for coming to you. Literally last Friday afternoon, the Department of Housing and Community Development put out the final program guidelines. Maybe they were included in your package, or I think I didn't get them emailed down to the county administrator until this afternoon. The first round of applications for funding in 2017, there's $1 million of funding available. We have to identify local partners and get our application in 1 month from today. And if you consider we got the holidays, Thanksgiving, this is an exceptionally rapid time frame. I think probably in recognition of the short fuse, the very quick time frame here, the Department of Housing and Community Development has removed some of the typical requirements that go with grant funding like this, such as 30-day public comment period at the local level, et cetera. Most importantly, if we are awarded, if we apply with Montgomery County and All Points Broadband receives funding, we are required to complete the build-out of the project that we applied for by June 30th of 2017. So you can tell there's a lot of interest at the state level in finding shovel-ready projects and successful projects that can be implemented and show results quickly. Last week, I sent a conceptual proposal to Chairman Tuck and the county administrator, kind of outlining at a very high level how we would like to proceed with Montgomery County. And in a nutshell, we're going to put up the money, we're going to take the risk. We need someone from the county to take an application that we're going to prepare, log online to a system, and apply for us. Receive the money, be identified by us, and as we complete the project and fulfill the grant requirements, distribute the funds to us. So I think it's a pretty good arrangement, but with a little more detail. So if Montgomery County is interested in being our local co-applicant for this project, we will do the heavy lifting of designing network extensions, preparing the budget, and all the information and data that goes into the application. We will prepare what we hope will be a very, very competitive application, and thus likely to be funded at the state level. We will accept 100% of the responsibility for complying with the program requirements. We will commit to have the infrastructure built, deployed, and operational by the end of June of 2017, which is but bear in mind they're going to announce funding decisions in the middle of January. Any kind of public infrastructure project, 4.5 months to get it permitted. Permitting is easier in the wireless business, but permitted, budgeted, order the equipment, light up the circuits. It will be a very significant effort of ours to do this. And importantly, we will match 100% of the funding that is required from the private sector and the local government together. We will bear that responsibility. What we're asking the county to do is to, this is not a big cost, but it's very important, we think, for success. We need for the county to designate and empower a point of contact, someone who can help us get information we need, make sure you know what the computer screen looks like, so we can get you the application in the form that it needs to be successful. Someone who can help us identify. We have a pretty good idea about where it would make sense to do this. We have some nearly shovel-ready projects we can do, but we just need a liaison, a primary point of contact with the county to run this thing down and get the application submitted. As I said, we would like to coordinate. It's not necessary. We have a lot of ideas on our own, but if county staff, members of the board have ideas about underserved areas, that would be very helpful. We will prepare the grant application, but someone from the county is going to have to go through the ministerial steps of logging on to the state system and submitting it. And then if we are successful in receiving grant funding, it would be because of the way that this state agency is set up, all the money is distributed to localities, and then the county would turn around and distribute it to us. I tried to keep my presentation short tonight to just 4 slides and to move through it quickly because you have a pretty substantial agenda. But in a nutshell, this is a no-cost, no-risk way for you all to help an entrepreneurial company who's investing private capital in your community to solve what I think many people recognize as one of the most important public policy issues we have in America, which is bridging the digital divide. So I'm happy to take any questions and hope that Montgomery County will be willing to work with us to hopefully have a great success that we can all be celebrating next June 30th.
I will start off with Supervisor Perkins. Any questions? Supervisor King.
I just got one thing. I think before we step in this bucket, I think we ought to have our attorney look at everything before we agree to anything.
Absolutely.
Well, go ahead. Is that any?
Yeah.
Supervisor Biggs?
Okay, I'm still trying to, first time I've seen it, and it sounds like the timeline's really tight. There are lots of places that need it. I'm still trying to figure out how you're just asking for a person, but what's the cost to the county? There's no cost to the county?
There's no cost except for a couple hours of somebody's time to help us, but we are going to put up the matching funding that is required under the program.
And what I've thought about, and I haven't had a discussion with Brian yet, but because this is an economic development
priority for the county is Brian Hamilton and his staff at Economic Development could be the point of contact, could be the physical hands on the keyboard, if you will, to get this taken care of. So I'm sure we could accommodate that.
And so all of this would be done by June?
Yes, and when we accept funding, I will personally certify under all kinds of penalties and threats that we will get any project we apply for. It has to be built out by June 30th of next year.
It's a wireless build out.
I know, but I'm just trying to imagine how all this is going to get done.
A few wires, a lot of equipment.
Again, it's we just got the final guidelines last Friday afternoon, and it will be quite a task to do this right. You know, it's very complicated to design an RF network that works in a very short period of time, and so we are here tonight to try and get a clear indication of the county that you're interested in working with us on this, so that we can justify this very significant personnel resources that we will devote to preparing a winning application in the next 30 days.
Well, I can tell you in my district that the folks on Brush Mountain tell me all the time about the problems they have with not having high-speed internet.
Supervisor DeMotts.
Just a couple of questions, and I guess to frame it, my kids came home last week with Chromebooks from the school, and we have internet at home. We live in town limits in the town of Blacksburg, but the first thing I thought when I saw that is, oh my goodness, there are a lot of kids in the county that do not have the luxury of internet access in their homes, and this extremely useful tool that is now in my children's backpacks is more useful to my kids than it would be to others. So there's the frame of the question. I guess my primary consideration is, are we willing to target rural areas where you don't have a large customer base, but those are the most underserved?
Yes, so the program requirements require that we use any funding we receive to provide minimum 10 down, 1 up service to homes and businesses that are not served with that level of service today. So the program structure is such that it's targeting investment typically at less densely populated areas where the private sector provider couldn't make a business case for major capital spend if it weren't for some type of public support. So that's how they've targeted this program. So we would not be using this to build on top of an area that's already served.
Okay, and then the end users would be just a household, so there would be a cost to a family. I've got a question. Let me kind of game it out a little bit. I know Montgomery County Public Schools is currently using buses as hotspots. I'm not sure through what company they're hotspotting the buses. Craig, you might know.
I saw that on the news the other night. I know it's an initiative they've talked about, but I'm not aware of how they've lit that up yet.
And I guess I'm just communicating that to you as maybe something you could be interested as a partner with the county in the future, is maybe providing some of those facilities, or looking at some facilities like that and seeing if maybe you could provide service for those local hotspots in underserved areas.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't have many of the details. I saw in the newspaper a couple weeks ago about the school bus hotspot concept. We in RVU had a very long history, I think a very symbiotic relationship with the county and the Public Service Authority and the rescue squad, and it's been our intention to continue that and to be a good corporate citizen, and whatever we can do to help expand broadband in the communities we serve, that's our entire reason for existing.
Great. Thank you. And then to Mr. King's comments, I do think that everything should be reviewed by legal counsel, but I really appreciate the presentation and the opportunity to collaborate in this manner.
Supervisor Shepherd.
I only have one because they've covered pretty much everything else. The one line that says provide 100% of the upfront cash match, which you will do. The upfront part, are there any hidden costs later on that the county might impose?
No, we may find as we get into the plan that there are areas where the county could offer something that wouldn't cost the county anything, but that would improve the competitiveness of our application. If those came up, we would probably ask, hey, can we do this? But to be very, very clear, we're not expecting or requiring that. Cash money that goes out the door would come from us, and the county would have no ongoing responsibility to operate, maintain, anything else like that.
That's all. Yes.
I forgot to mention too, this is an initiative of the Chamber, the Montgomery Regional Chamber of Commerce. So that, and they talk a lot about people that go home and they can't, check in with their business at home. So that would be another outreach probably to, maybe for your company to look at if this all happens, because they're very interested in pursuing that also.
Okay.
And I have a few. Just want to make sure to clarify. No cost for the county at all. No hidden cost later, nothing. If you guys go out of business, we're not going to be responsible for paying any grants or anything along those lines, correct?
Correct. It's a one-time capital funding. We have to build out the network that complies with the application, have it operational by the end of June.
And you guys write the grant, you just need somebody to sign their name and hit the send button.
We need you to take something we're going to prepare, log on to a state system that we don't have access to, cut and paste, hit send.
Okay. Now, I guess, and I'm looking at Marty, I think from what Mr. Meadows has told me that he received some of the documentation this afternoon.
Just send it to you.
And so we're going to need our time for our county attorney to look at things.
The guidelines.
And then we can prepare a resolution. We could even do it at our, we have a PSA meeting and our board meets, and we could do it before then, which would be the first Monday in December.
The 5th.
The 5th. But if you had a consensus, and again, we've got to get clearance from our county attorney to make sure that what we're signing is all right. Would that be significant enough for you if you have a 4-member consensus on our board saying we're willing to go forward subject to approval of our county attorney?
Yes, if the members of the board here are, if you're saying so long as you're telling us the truth, Mr. Carr, we're planning to go forward. Yes. I would expect it. Yeah, we're looking for a commitment.
You translated that very well.
We're going to spend a huge amount of our extremely valuable staff time. Our most senior wireless engineers are going to stop what they're doing and design a network that typically would take us at least a calendar quarter or two to do. We're going to pack that into a month when people are already going away for Thanksgiving and they have vacation that is use it or lose it by the end of the year. And so before we say, okay, guys, drop everything, it's going to be Montgomery County, we're looking for some kind of statement from the governing body that as long as what I'm telling you tonight is true, that when it comes time to submit the application, you're going to submit it.
You remember what Reagan said, trust but verify. And so along those lines, is there consensus, subject again to Marty coming back and saying, is there 4 votes? All right, you've got a consensus. We will put this on, if nothing else, the PSA meeting, which would be December the 5th, and to be voting on, and then we'll be ready to go forward with it that day.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Sounds exciting.
At this point in time, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I'm going to go ahead and take a 10-minute break, and we'll get back started at 9 o'clock. Sorry about that, folks. I'm running a little bit late as far as getting us started back. I believe the next item on our agenda was the Fair Labor Standards Act.
And this is an update that we need to provide the board regarding some changes to the FLSA laws effective December 1st. And I don't know, is this your first time before the board?
It is.
It is. For those of you that don't know, Clay McCoy. Clay is our Human Resources Director, been with us for 8 months. 8 months. Yeah, 8 months. I told Clay I put a to-do list together for him when he got here, and then he found enough to do that I haven't had to give him my to-do list yet. But anyway, Clay's going to update us on this. So, Clay.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the opportunity to be here tonight. As Craig was saying, the Fair Labor Standards Act, there have been some updates to that through the Department of Labor. As you may know, the Fair Labor Standards Act, there are several different aspects of it. There are duties tests for each of the exemptions for someone to be an exempt or salaried employee. Then there's also the compensation component of it as well. Non-exempt employees, typically hourly employees, are paid overtime or receive compensatory time for any hours over 40 that they work in a work week. The threshold that we have currently, which will be changing, was $23,660 per year, or $455 per week to meet the exemption. That has been in place since about 2004, so it is about 12 years old. The changes to the law go into effect December the 1st, and one of the things precipitating these changes is the President asked the Department of Labor to go through, update, modernize the regulations. The $23,660 threshold seemed a little bit low. At first blush, as it was proposed, the first numbers that were put out was $50,440 per year. It received over 270,000 comments, businesses, lots of organizations, the Society for Human Resource Management, among others, submitted commentary back to the Department of Labor, and the threshold, the final rule, which has come out, is $47,476 per year. Additionally, and again, this goes back to where the FLSA had not been updated since '04. One of the mechanisms that has been put into place or proposed is that it will automatically update every 3 years to stay consistent with the 40th percentile of the United States Census Bureau's lowest wage region. Bless you. Which is in the South. So every 3 years, we will have an increased threshold to meet the salary exemption guidelines. What we have done is look at the county's current job descriptions as written. There really haven't been any changes to the duties tests themselves per se. But based on our review, there are some changes that are going to be required to make sure that we stay in compliance. And then we also are planning some further review updates to the job descriptions and stuff as well to try to keep them updated going forward. The financial impact overall, telling you the numbers, the impact to the county, it's going to increase our costs by just over around $22,000 per year in payroll costs for some positions that we're going to have to raise the threshold in order to meet the new regulations. Then, of course, we will factor all of that in when we're preparing the budget for 2017-18 going forward. Penalties, just basic information about it. There are penalties for misclassification or non-compliance with the regs. You can receive a civil penalty. I think they're around $1,100 per occurrence. Back pay to any affected employees for that for a time period of 1 to 3 years that they come in and do an investigation. Liquidated or punitive damages, and then also criminal charges for managers who willfully neglect to follow the guidelines. As to future steps, one thing that has not been overhauled lately, like the Fair Labor Standards Act, the county, the last time that there was a really comprehensive overhaul to the job descriptions was in 2005. We have been, as I've been on board, we've been updating all the job descriptions as we've had postings and trying to make updates and revisions to those. However, there are a number of them that need to be updated, so that's going to be one of our priorities for this coming year is comprehensive updates for the job descriptions, both for regulatory compliance, but then also that as it ties into compensation to make sure that we are maintaining competitiveness in the job market as well. That has been something that's been a little bit of a struggle for us here at the county. Then, of course, just maintaining those in accordance not only with the Fair Labor Standards Act, but affirmative action, equal employment opportunity, the federal guidelines as well. So, and as riveting as discussion about employment law is, I enjoy trying to keep it brief. So if you all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer any of them.
I'm going to start with Supervisor Shepherd.
You would.
I don't have any. Supervisor DeMotts.
I'm going to revisit the $22,000 increase in cost. I noted that this is payroll expenses. Is that overtime for workers that are currently working more than 40 hours a week that we're not paying time and a half to?
What it is we have employees that are currently considered exempt, that their pay threshold is below the $47,476. And rather than turn them hourly and have to incur a lot of overtime cost, is to increase the pay to meet the threshold of the guideline.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
So not only do you have to update the job descriptions, but you would be in charge of training the managers so that no criminal penalties are filed against us. Like, in other words, that's going to involve some training, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Supervisor King.
How many employees did this 22,000? How many did that affect?
It's less than 10. It's less than 10. It was between 8 and 10 employees that's affecting. Between the threshold and then the compression that some of it is creating in the pay bands. So.
Well, just one more thing. I appreciate you and Carol and Angie and the rest of them. I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate that.
Well,
I really do.
Supervisor Perkins.
Nothing at all, but thank you for explaining it.
Well, this is one of those unfunded mandates, so to speak, from the federal government that came down to us. I really appreciate your hard work on this, and I know that you haven't been before the board, but we've heard lots of good things about you, and so we appreciate your work that you've been doing.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Clay.
Next on our agenda is a Mountain Valley Pipeline update.
I'm looking at Marty. I don't know who's doing this one.
Marty's doing it.
I think Clay is.
Sure. Speaking of unwanted federal pipeline, would fall into that.
I might have some papers and all he could help me.
Marty, could you give us a little bit of an update in regards to where we're at this point in time?
Sure. And I'd like to also give some context too while I do the update. So, context is always good, right, Clay? But first of all, I think everyone needs to remember this board is on record with a resolution, actually two, against the pipeline locating anywhere in Montgomery County. And I think people need to keep that in mind. And the reasons why we're against it were all cited tonight by everyone who came up and spoke about the two resolutions that are on the agenda. So first off, we're against the pipeline going anywhere in Montgomery County, period. We didn't say we wanted to go here or there. We don't want it anywhere. And for all the reasons that were mentioned tonight, economically, environmentally, especially land use, it's just not a good thing for our county. And we recognize that. We're on record for that. Secondly, the draft EIS, that's the big item right now in the FERC process. The deadline is February 20-something. I always forget the date, but our attorney, Caroline, is working on that. She's a little bit behind, a couple days. We hope to have a draft today, ready to circulate. We don't, but she's close. She's going to need maybe a couple more days, so hopefully Wednesday. What worries me is Thanksgiving's coming up, so it may not end up being Monday, but I'm hoping for Wednesday. And then once we get a draft, we'll circulate it amongst all those that have shown interest. I'll send it to Linda Majors, and she can forward it to her groups and get comments on it. This board will also get to look at it and have comments on it. One important thing to point out is the whole issue about the forest and the amendments in the forest. That is all contained in the draft EIS. this board will be responding, making a strong stance against the forest. I mean, being against the adverse effects to the forest. So it's not really fair to say that we won't be responding if the board elected not to approve that other resolution. We are going to be providing comments on the forest. I mean, and we're going to be providing comments on everything they mentioned about the adverse impacts of the forest, meaning the old grove trees or the Appalachian Trail, or especially the 500-foot corridor. There's nothing that we're going to leave out when it comes to trying to protect the forest. The first resolution on today's agenda was the, I'll call it the DCR resolution. We talked with our attorney, and neither one of us see any problem with that resolution. In fact, there's a couple good reasons for that resolution. One is the Slushers Chapel Conservation Site area is a very sensitive karst area. It contains, as the speakers have pointed out numerous times, and Linda Manders has mentioned it numerous times over the weeks, that area is an important area where streams are created, and there's numerous water sources coming through that area that go through the karst areas, go in the caves, and so it needs to be protected. DCR, which is a state agency, recommends that the route be moved in order to protect that area, moving the line along the ridge line, keeping it in the forest a little bit longer going east before it comes back down into the private lands. And so I think it's important that the board supports that resolution in order to protect one of the more sensitive areas environmentally that we have in this county. The second thing that resolution does, and I didn't hear anyone mention that tonight other than that was in the other resolution, is that we also come out against the 500-foot corridor in the forest in that resolution. We mentioned if a right-of-way is granted by the forest, we say it's got to be 50 feet. It cannot be 500 feet. They need to limit that to 50 feet. And the speakers have elegantly described to you why the 500 feet is a bad idea. Obviously, we'll have we'll basically have a bullseye right on us, and like they said, all the utilities will be going through that 500-foot corridor. So if a right-of-way is granted in the forest, and we're not saying we want one, we're saying if one is granted, limit it to 50 feet, especially, and then also, move that route away from Slushers Chapel Conservation Site. Now, the second resolution, the concerns that were raised by legal staff was that what are the unintended consequences of that resolution? This board's already against the pipeline going anywhere else, and what the fear was if we exert special, like if we pass a resolution, now we're still going to address this in the comments, so it'll be addressed, but if we adopt a resolution that specifically says we don't want to go through the forest at all, then could that mean it's going to go somewhere else that could be even worse for our citizens in Montgomery County? Now, yeah, we don't know whether that could happen. Are there other routes that could come through Montgomery County without going through the forest? I don't know. I mean, there might be. And then we hear people saying, well, it'll be delayed, and so they won't do it. But we don't know if they won't do it. We just don't know that. And so that was the concern we raised with Caroline. She mentioned it is a worry because the pipeline would rather, and one of our speakers said this, except he used the wrong term, is that they really would rather go through private land than public land. Public land, in my idea, when you talk about public land, you're talking about land owned by the public, meaning federal land, state land, local land, owned by the government. They don't want to go through government land. They want to go through private land because they get better rights, and they don't have to deal with the forest, and they don't have to. All they'll get was a license. They won't get an easement, and so that was our concern. It's not this that we don't want to protect the forest, or we think that it's a good idea to go through the forest. That's not the purpose of it. The fear is that are we going to direct it somewhere else that may be even more adverse against our citizens unintended. Now, do we know? No, we don't know. So after hearing everyone speaking tonight about the resolution, maybe there's a way we can look at it, delay approving or delay voting on that second resolution or considering it. Approve the conservation one on the VDCR one, but the second one, maybe we could take a look at it, possibly recraft it in a way that the fear of unintended consequences can be addressed at the same time as maybe, coming out strongly in support of the bars. So I don't know whether there's an opportunity to do that, but I think it wouldn't hurt to wait until the meeting is on the 5th, and maybe that'll give us some time to maybe recraft it and come up with a little bit different resolution. But that's the only solution I can think at this point, unless the board wanted to go ahead and approve it, which is fine. The only concern is that unintended consequence.
Thank you. Supervisor Perkins?
No comments at this time.
Supervisor King?
Well, I agree with Marty. I think, we hired legal counsel to tell us how to best do this. So I think, I had no problem with the first one, but the second one, I think we need to wait and get all angles of it.
Supervisor Biggs?
Okay, well, because I've been talking to folks and they know how strongly I feel about the pipeline. I'm a no. Okay, but these people out in the audience are living this 24/7, 365 days a year. And that's why their passion is here. So what I would suggest, I'm in support of A. What I'd like to do with B is I would like to follow Marty's advice and see if we can maybe reword it so that we're making sure we're covering all our bases, because I know the feeling is out there, well, it can't come, or it will be delayed or whatever, but we've been dealing with MVP and FERC, and I personally don't trust anything they might or might not do. I mean, they just do what they please.
Right.
So I want to cover all our bases. We don't want this anywhere in the county, period. So I'm with Marty. I think if we work maybe and see what we can do and bring it back up at the meeting before the PSA meeting, we can have a Board of Supervisors work session or whatever it might be that we need to have on December 5th to maybe see if we can get that done. And that would give you, Marty, time to talk to Miss Elephant too, right?
Right, and we could also use that work session to talk about the draft comments. We obviously will have a draft well in hand by then, and so we could talk about that, and if the board, hopefully at that meeting, can give a consensus or pass a resolution adopting the comments, and then we'll send them off to FERC the next day so that we're on record for the draft EIS. So we can handle both those things at that meeting.
And I want to thank Marty. Marty's worked on this all day. This isn't the only day he's worked on it. The folks out there have been working on this forever, and it takes all of us together to try to do what's best for the county. And so I want folks to know, just because we're not proceeding with B, it's it's because we're trying to look at the whole picture, and we're trying to get it all done so it will be in my opinion, sort of the right way to approach it. But don't. I guess what I'm trying to say is don't be upset, because we still got that on the plate. It hasn't gone anywhere, but we're just trying to make sure that it's when we do have it, it'll be the best possible. I guess if that makes sense, because I know how hard you guys have been working, and we've tried to support, we've tried to work together. I think this has been a great partnership, and I guess it will continue to be, because we couldn't have done what we've done without you all. You guys are the experts as far as I'm concerned, and I learn something new every time I go to one of your meetings. So that's sort of where I am now.
Supervisor DeMond.
I echo a lot of what Supervisor Biggs has said. I have objections, fundamental objections to the pipeline and to any natural gas pipeline, stemming from a belief personally that fracking is extremely destructive to our environment permanently, and for that reason I am strongly opposed to a pipeline, period, and even more so a pipeline through Montgomery County. And I do want to say thank you to those in the audience tonight. it was because of an email that we received on Friday afternoon from the folks working so hard in the community that we asked our attorney to revisit the issues presented in the second resolution. And I apologize that we're not at the point tonight where we can move forward, but please do know that it is not going away. It's still very much on our radar and will be addressed at our December 5th meeting. We just need to gather some more information from Ms. Elephant and how we can mitigate for any unintended consequences that may result from proposing or putting forward the second resolution.
Supervisor Shepherd.
I agree with everything that's been said. I certainly don't want to see a pipeline come through this county anywhere. That being said, I'm in total agreement with the first resolution, and I certainly want to get the second one right so that none of the citizens in this county have to deal with this.
Now, do I get to say something after you? I said for the time.
Okay, you would like to address, yes, Ms. Perkins.
No, I passed on the first time because I wanted to hear what Ms. Biggs and what Mr. Motts said. I really do agree with them that it would be okay if we just postpone it till the next meeting that we have. I do want to say thank you very much for bringing it to me. I don't know, but it's been a very convoluted situation. But from day one, I think most of us, in fact, I think all of us have said no. The word is no pipeline in Montgomery County. And we don't want it because of the dangers that it presents, as well as the environmental concerns that we have. We want to just be sure that it says what we want it to say too, along with what you want it to say. But I will say that you all have really explained what you've done, what you feel, what you've researched far better than what we have had really time to see as much as you all see. And I want you to know that we take what you say to heart. It helps us to understand the issues that are there. One thing about the Board of Supervisors is we handle so many things that we really do have to depend upon the community sometimes to help us get through some of the very thick issues that confront us. But we do have advice from attorneys, and I think that we should just follow that for the moment. Not that it's put away forever, or that we've dismissed it, or we just say no. I think we need to get that additional information too from our attorneys, and hopefully it will make what we say as strong as you want it to say, and our what we want it to say too, which is no, but not in so many words. But thank you very much. And again, I'm very impressed with all the hard work you've done. I did go to your meetings the other night that you had, and yeah, I was so impressed with what you all were saying to us, and it was important for us to hear it. So thank you very much. And from the bottom of our hearts, we don't want the pipeline. And we really appreciate what's gone on and what you've said. Thank you.
A few things from my perspective. As an attorney, if someone hires me to represent them on an issue, one, I have a duty to tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. We listened to our citizens, and we came up with a plan, and we have a budget in regards to hiring Ms. Elephant. She indicated, and we've gone over it with her, and she said, Resolution A, no problems. I think that's going to pass 6-0 tonight. There's reservations in regards to B. There was some questions, is there another route through Montgomery County? And now, I'm looking on GIS, and it seems to be that there are a lot of other ways around into Montgomery County that you wouldn't have to go through the National Forest. I have a duty to try to, well, one, we say we don't want a pipeline. We have voted on several different occasions that we don't want a pipeline. As someone who looks at this from economic impact, I think it has a negative. I'm concerned about the folks out on Brush Mountain, out Mount Tabor. We have no abilities to be able to provide you public water. You're too far out. It means you're on wells. I was here when they built the Smart Road and people's wells went dry with all the blasting. Okay? I have had properties, and I'm on a well myself, and wish I could get on public water and can't. So that being said, those are some of my concerns. Also, this gas pipeline provides us no economic benefits in Montgomery County. We have no industries that are wanting to hook onto this pipeline. It's simply passing through. I also think, though, we have a duty to mitigate. I think that's exactly what the A does. We talk about, look, we don't want this pipeline, but what do we want? We want a 50-foot corridor, not a 500-foot corridor through the National Forest. We're mitigating the damages and impacts on our citizens. What are we looking at? We've got some very sensitive areas out in Mount Tabor and around the Slusher's Chapel area. We're trying to mitigate those things. Now, who knows whether FERC will actually listen to us? We hope they do. But going back to my point, Ms. Oliphant is telling us what we need to hear, not necessarily what we want to hear. We would want to hear, we can stop this pipeline and all we have to do is pass a resolution here in the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors and we stop it. Well, that's not the case, and that's not reality. And so, if that's, and if we just get an attorney who's going to tell us what we want to hear, then we need to find a new attorney. And so I'm looking at this situation. I'm willing to revisit it. Maybe there's some deed restrictions out on that areas that don't allow, something that happens that won't allow pipeline to be built through that whole Lick Run area and then over into Giles County. I think this gives us a little bit of time to look at it and then to our December meeting and look for our attorneys a way to craft it. And so when we come out of work session, I will be supportive of tabling it until we can obtain additional information, and it's my intent to vote in favor of A. So, is there any, does that spark any other discussion?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head.
Is there a motion to come out of work session?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Consent agenda, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, we are.
I think so.
Okay. All right. New business. Subject A. Resolution supporting the Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation, VDCR, proposed modification to the MVP pipeline corridor to reduce the impacts to Slusher's Chapel Conservation Site and request of the United States Forest Service to limit any right-of-way grant through the National Forest to 50 feet. Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Is there
Second.
a second? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
Chair Tuck?
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Aye.
6 ayes.
Subject B. Is there a motion to table this matter?
Motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion at this point in time?
May I make a comment? If you table this resolution, the exact same resolution will come back. So you may...
Okay, and I'm looking at Marty as Robert's Rules of Order.
We'll bring it back or an amended version. How's that?
So is the motion to either amend it?
Amend it.
Can we table it for amendment?
Yes. I think
All right.
we can do
Who
Is
made
that-
the motion?
There's a motion and a second. Are y'all agreeable to a friendly amendment?
Absolutely.
Yeah, with it coming back on the 5th, is that the date?
The 5th?
We're talking about having a work session on the 5th before
Yeah, so
the
let's
PSA
say
meeting,
the
which
date
we'll
comes
get the
back.
date, we'll get the date out, or the time out.
And we may want to go ahead and meet early, if that's possible, maybe like because I know that we've got some business with the PSA that we need to address as well. So maybe like a 5:30 meeting? That'd be, okay. So there's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Mox?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
That was a long one. Subject C, Economic Development Authority bond refinancing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Mox?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Subject D, Resolution authorizing countywide ban on open fires.
Motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
I do have one question that was asked of me by a citizen, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer, but just for the sake of clarification, would this also limit open burning in a fire pit, like a backyard fire pit?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think the only thing, correct me if I'm wrong, the only thing that's exempt is your barbecue grills.
Okay.
What?
Your
Barbecue
grill.
You can still cook out.
Well, I would say I would agree with this. There's something going on Cranwell Circle tonight in Blacksburg. There were 2 or 3 fire trucks, and I don't know, it was and some ambulances, if I can't say it out correctly, and police and what have you. I don't know if it was an open air fire or if it involved a home or some individuals in the home, but it was quite a to-do. So anyway, there was a great deal of disturbance, but it's very dangerous, even where we live.
Supervisor
Yeah, I
DeMott.
have one more question. Sorry to keep on drawing it out. The countywide ban on open fires, according to the resolution, would be lifted at the discretion of the Director of Emergency Services.
Yes, but which is technically me.
Ooh.
Yes.
And the way this came about, as you're probably aware, we implemented the burn ban last week, effective November 15th. And I have the authority to implement a ban subject to the approval of the board.
Yeah, within a certain period of time.
Yeah, within a certain period of time.
That time period.
And we can lift the ban once it's determined that substantial rainfall has fallen. And I would consult with, just as we did with this, we consulted with the fire chiefs and also the emergency services coordinator. We'd do the same thing before we lifted it.
Thank
Probably
you.
the weather service too, would be
Well,
good at that point, yeah.
Yeah, but looking at the 15-day forecast, I'm afraid.
I think this is a very timely resolution.
Yes, very timely.
Is there a way that we could send this out along with the penalties that come with this if you violate it? Maybe send it out to the Roanoke Times News Messenger and also put it on our website, because as someone who was in the woods, I'm planning on going hunting again. It is incredibly dry, and it just takes a spark, and the next thing you know, people's houses are going up and thousands of acres are on fire.
And I think the National Forest, they put a ban on it.
Yeah, the National Forest has too. We need to, we did issue through all the social media and through a press release, the burn ban, but we'll follow up on that with the penalties of what could happen. Supervisor King and I talked about that last week, because there was some question about if you come upon somebody that's burning, we can charge them, but it's hard to charge them if they don't know, so we need to make sure that we've got the information out there in every channel we can.
Right, yeah, what you really want to do if someone's burning is tell them there's a burn ban, shut it down. And if they don't shut it down, then
you can cite
then you
them.
charge them.
And it is a Class 3 misdemeanor.
One thing you got to remember, one amber can go for miles.
Yes, that's what was concerning me tonight, because there are so many houses and things right together, and the trees, and the people have been raking their leaves, and they've got them in big piles, but now the leaves are going everywhere. So I don't know what occurred tonight, but it just struck me. So thank you.
The big thing are those outdoor fireplaces, because they're really being used when the weather gets cold.
Yeah.
And people might not think that that's a problem, because a lot of them have covers, you know, so that really needs to be, yeah.
All right, so we've had discussion. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mr. Motts?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Tuck?
Aye.
6 ayes.
And next up is County Attorney's Report.
Just one item, not a couple items, but just one item. On December, just want to let the board know, on December 8th, a meeting with all the counties that are involved in the pipeline opposition, Roanoke County, Craig, Giles, Franklin's involved, and am I leaving anyone out? Roanoke's hosting a meeting with staff, and we're going to meet with, the importance of the meeting is we're going to meet with DEQ representative from from Richmond and Roanoke, and with VDOT, and we're going to talk with them about concerted efforts to work together in dealing with the issues before us with the pipeline, erosion sediment control, water permitting, the different things that these state agencies have jurisdiction on doing. However, being the local entity, we're the ones who are going to get contacted, so we need to establish relationships and establish a process how we're going to handle going forward with this pipeline. So I'll let you know how that meeting goes. That's on December 8th. It'll be all morning and a little bit in the afternoon. So,
thank you. County Administrator's Report.
Two things. First off, I'm very honored to be sitting beside the president of the Virginia Association of Counties, who was elected last week at the VACO conference. Congratulations again, Ms. Biggs, on that.
Thank you.
And I hope everybody has a very happy and safe Thanksgiving. And that's all I have.
Supervisor Perkins.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Next on our agenda would be Supervisor Creed. As I mentioned at the beginning of our meeting, his sister passed away. The funeral services were this evening. Again, I would ask that you keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and his family. Next is Supervisor Biggs.
If you haven't signed up for your VACO steering committee and you're thinking of doing it, the deadline is December 31st to get everything mailed in. And then Craig and I went to the Western Regional Virginia Jail Authority meeting, and unfortunately Montgomery County had the most prisoners. It seems like we always have the most prisoners, and I hate that, but anyway. And then I was going to tell you that the basket auction that the Library Foundation Board had, anyway, it was so well attended. I'm not sure how much money they raised. I'll find out this month, but a lot of people showed up at the Blacksburg Library for that, so it was really, really good.
Supervisor DeMotts.
My board report starts with the present.
Oh, wow.
This is a Parks and Rec lanyard for each of you.
Thank you.
And, oh no, I want mine. There we go.
There you go.
Pass those around. Those were given to me from our Director of Parks and Rec to present to all of you in celebration of the Planning Department winning the annual costume contest and trick-or-treating. I was asked to participate and did participate with the Planning Department, and we dressed up like the weather, and we won. So we were the best and most festively dressed in the county.
Do you have pictures?
There is a picture somewhere. There's a picture somewhere.
We might be using that at some point.
Yeah. Maybe I shouldn't have let them photograph me. Also, last week, several of us attended the Virginia Association of Counties annual education conference, and I became aware of an initiative called Go Green Virginia. I called VACO this afternoon to speak with them about what the requirements are to participate in the Go Green Virginia program and to receive the Go Green Virginia award. And I would like to just outline some of the items that that they score on. There are things like water quality, supply and flooding, waste management to include recycling and composting, environmental stewardship, land use, community involvement, and education. So there are several different areas where we can receive points as a county. We have to receive up to 100 points to win the designation. And they told me today when I called at VACO that most of the counties that win this award have been more urban counties in Northern Virginia. They were very excited that somebody from Montgomery County was calling, and very excited about the idea of a more rural county participating. So I'm interested in seeing if we can participate in that for next year. They said that the period for registration will open in May or June with a press release, broadcast, email, and newsletter, but anything we do in 2017 to advance the initiatives of the Go Green Virginia program will count. And then finally, in the spirit of Thanksgiving, I did want to thank our long-suffering staff for being here with us this evening. Vicki, Craig, Carol, and Marty, thank you all very much. I'm very thankful that we... Oh, and Josh, I'm sorry, I forgot you way back there. Clay, thanks for being here as well. But I wanted to thank all of you for the great job that you do.
Supervisor Shepherd.
Just wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and whatever you do, be careful traveling, because especially 81 is always a wreck on it.
Supervisor King.
I just want to thank everybody for everything they do for us supervisors. I mean, if it wasn't for y'all, we couldn't get nothing done.
Thank you.
Especially Miss Vicki. And just a reminder, please do not burn outside.
You don't want to be called in.
I just want to point out a few things. Going to the VACO conference, this is the first year that I've gone, and I learned a lot, but I also learned how valuable it can be to be there and make connections. Many of you saw the All Points broadband effort. If my fellow supervisors had to have been there, I don't know that we would have known about the $2 million grant. I don't know that we would have been able to move on as quickly as we have. Hopefully, that is going to be a fantastic VACO trip for us, and hopefully we're going to get a $2 million grant here in Montgomery County. But those are the kind of opportunities that going to those type of conferences present. And so I know that there's some concerns and folks that worry about taxpayer money on the issues like that. But it's those kind of connections sometimes, and finding out about grants that you didn't know about that happen at those meetings. Also, it's not often that the chairman is outranked, but we've got the president of Virginia Association of VACO right here with us, so I'm outranked at my own meeting and will be for the next, year or whatever, month and a half to come. But that's a tremendous accomplishment that Supervisor Biggs, to be a president of association, 95, soon to be 96 counties. Am I getting that right?
We represent 94 out of the 95. We've got one out there that we need to bring home.
And that is also a tremendous accomplishment for Montgomery County. She is the first president of VACO to be from Montgomery County, so it's quite an honor. And so, then being nothing else in front of the Board of Supervisors, everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.